we don't stop at presenting the idea because we're interested in the lessons that we can learn from that implementation process.
Oh, that's good.
We can learn whatever are the difficulties because, once academics develop a story, a path to change, it's not always connected with difficulties of real world.
This is Atlas Network with Michael Carnuccio.
Welcome back to Atlas Network with Michael Carnuccio, the show that brings you the voices behind the global freedom movement. Today, we head to Brazil, where a bold effort is changing the way cities govern. Our guest is Magno Karl, Executive Director of Livres and a 2025 Templeton Freedom Award finalist. His organization created the Libres Handbook on Public Policy, a field guide of 81 pro-liberty reforms for local government, and the results are already reshaping policy in cities across Brazil, with 14 policy wins in areas like transparency, education, entrepreneurship, and over 50 candidates signing on to its proposals. The handbook is proof that market-based ideas can win not just debates, but actual votes. We're talking about how to turn ideas into action and theory into tangible freedom, one city at a time. Now, this conversation was taped while we were together at the Atlas Network Liberty Forum and Freedom Dinner in New York City. So you may hear a little bit of background noise or see some lights flashing, but I think you'll get a great view of the city and, of course, a wonderful conversation with my friend Magno. Enjoy. Magno, thank you so much for being on the program today. I'm excited for this conversation.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm a listener and watcher.
Oh, well, great. Thank you.
Well,
Let's jump right in
right.
and talk about Libre's Handbook for Public Policy. Tell us about the handbook, the impact, and why.
Well, Handbook was an idea that is not original. There are a couple of organizations in the Atlas Network that have handbooks and do the kind of work that we do. But to us, the idea came in a particular situation when we were supposed to, we had a history of working already with politicians and with classical liberal politicians, and they did quite badly in 2022, the elections. So we thought we would have to use the handbook a bit more, like to open doors and to expand our reach. So we adopted a strategy that we would talk to anyone who would want to talk to us.
Mhm.
And in the beginning, it was kind of weird knocking on doors and saying, "Hey guys, maybe you agree with 81 policies that we have in this book. Maybe you agree with 30. Maybe you agree with zero. But let me just show you this."
Right, right.
And over time, what we noticed was that people are kind of open for ideas,
Good.
even a very polarized society. If you come up with an open spirit and you have people in your team that are like um, I don't know, charismatic,
Sure.
and they are really into what they're doing. They have the passion, and they go to a staff member of a Congress member and say, "Hey, do you want to take a look?" And
Right.
you start opening doors. And what we noticed was that we would talk to somebody and just leave a copy there and with a contact information, and they would come up and send us an email, say, "We want to talk about this," and we would go back and connect with them. And that started in smaller cities because it's easier to get through the bureaucracy and talk to people who are elected politicians there. But quickly we went on to bigger cities. We connected with mayors, so it kind of scales
Wow.
up
Sure.
your impact. Um, and to us, it was a big surprise because it was not a new product. We started the Handbook on Policy in 2020,
Mhm.
and our goal was just kind of to help give substance to classical liberals running for office.
Sure.
And what changed was this view that we have of these two, that was not just a tool for classical liberals going to office, but to anyone
That's
going
good.
into public office and who are looking for good ideas.
You're at about 20% impact success rate so far out of the 81 policies. I think 14 have already been enacted, which is incredible in just a few years. Are there one or two that you're most proud of or like really excited that you got through?
I think one I would like to mention is the 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 streets, the care for the streets, the care for public spaces that in Brazil was always lacking. Our cities don't have the resources to make, cities livable, the
Mm,
public spaces livable,
mm,
the squares, the parks.
sure.
They were all left for, to rot. And we came up with the idea. We got some scholars together to draw a project that would provide mayors and council members with a framework to establish public-private partnerships to just take care of these spaces.
Sure.
The access to spaces would still be free of charge, and people could still enjoy it without paying anything, but it would be taken care by a private organization, sometimes not even a for-profit organization. It would be a charitable organization that would take care of that space.
Yeah.
In exchange for that, they would, I don't know, sell a space for an ad in the back of a popcorn stand, so they can finance
Sure.
the service they provide there. So there were some very simple solutions that I think there were a lot of prejudice, and people wouldn't propose it because they didn't want to mix private money with public spaces, right? It was something dirty. They don't, well, we don't want this private money. There are people looking for profit in our squares, in our public parks. And well, what we see, profit in this case is not even a requirement.
Hmm.
A lot of cases, there's no profit. All the money that they get from the ads they sell or other service that they explore is reinvested in the park, in those locations themselves. But sometimes there are companies operating for profit, and they show that it is possible to have a clean, well-kept park, for example, free of charge for the user, and they're still profitable and nice for people to visit. So profits and public free to use spaces are not opposites. They're not enemies of each other. They can go together. You just need to be creative and don't have prejudice about it.
Magno, I'm interested in this story because a lot of organizations, peer organizations, they'll put together what they call a roadmap, right? And they'll publish, maybe even get to publishing a handbook, and they'll stop there. They'll talk about it. You all took the next step and went toward the action side and actually got some of these enacted. Why is that your focus was on that action side?
Well, first, Livres started in 2016 as a movement to change a political party. So we have in our past this connection with politics and getting things done.
Sure.
People who started Livres, they wanted to change things,
Right.
not only ideas, but actually have a hand in policy making. And I think later on, we became an independent organization, but we still brought that with us. And I think a second issue is that we don't have in-house researchers. So I think if you have researchers in-house, they are there every day. They're looking into making a great paper, getting data, putting out good numbers.
Sure.
But we don't. We have a relatively small team, and we collect the data that somebody else researched, papers that somebody else published, and we use them to, well, give fundamental
Sure.
ideas
Yeah.
to our positions. We use them to give substance to our analysis.
Sure.
So we operate in the next steps from the normal research think tanks. We wait for them to do some research, or we go check, or whatever the academics are looking into, and use them to help us to develop an informed opinion.
Sure.
And it is with an informed opinion that we approach politicians.
Sure.
So we try to use the handbook in that process. We have the help of academics, we have
Sure.
the help of specialists,
Okay.
and with them, we develop a priority agenda. And that's what we present to candidates, to politicians in general. And we go following through the we don't stop at presenting the idea. because we're interested in the lessons that we can learn from that implementation process.
Oh, that's good.
We can learn whatever are the difficulties because, once academics develop a story, um, a path to change, it's not always connected with the difficulties of real world. It's
Sure.
not, always connected with whatever the challenges are to get that legislation through. And once that idea, we have an attempt to implement that idea to pass it through, I don't know, city council,
Sure.
we learn what are the weaknesses and what are the strengths of that project. So a fundamental part of our process around the handbook is learning lessons in the aftermath. After we publish it, after we presented those ideas to politicians, after the politicians try to implement those ideas, there is still a lot to be learned. And that those lessons will be later transferred to the process of the next handbook, because then we will have more polished ideas for the next cycle. And also, it will become resources for us to introduce a better material for the next generation of
Sure. Yeah.
politicians. We'll have a bank of policy ideas, but also a bank of projects that were implemented already with the lessons learned where we were exaggerating, wherever we are not ambitious enough. Sometimes we can push a bit harder, sometimes we're pushing too hard. But all their knowledge is incorporated in the material that we collect afterwards. And slowly but surely, we're building a bank of ideas, of first time proposals, ideas that were never presented, that's something new based on some topic that's hot, or some issue that has been around for a long, long time. We haven't been able to solve it yet. Sure. But there is a small city that somebody tried that idea, and we think maybe it could be tried in a medium-sized city, or some idea that was tried in a gigantic metropolis like Sao Paulo that we think can be expanded to smaller cities too. So it's a learning process, very Hayekian
Sure.
learning
Yep.
process that we use in the handbook cycle.
This continuous process improvement and learning over and over is
Yeah.
fascinating. Let's talk about one of these ideas that is circulated through the economic freedom law and how that can impact entrepreneurs. First, maybe why is it time? Why is it so important? And why was that the focus?
Well, Brazil had been for a long time at bottom doing businesses indexes. So not only doing World Bank's doing business, but every other index that tried to measure economic freedom or uh, freedom to entrepreneurship.
Mm.
Brazil was always at the bottom, mostly because uh, making creating a new company was hard, was expensive,
Yeah.
and it would take a long time.
Ah,
So we would offer entrepreneurs two possibilities. You either have a lot of money and you can pay lawyers, accountants to take your ideas from your head to the official government registration, or you would just fly under the radar and hope that no government official would find out that your company is operating without permissions. Um, so, what the government did in 2019
mhm.
was to propose a legislation that would switch the burden of opening a new business. So before, it was on the entrepreneur to go to the state and say, look, I'm good.
Right, right, right.
I have these documents, these documents, these documents, these documents. Is it okay if I start selling books? And then you would wait 6 months, spend thousands, and then they'll say, well, yeah, okay, you can sell books. What the fundamental change that the economic freedom legislation brought to Brazil was that we switched the burden, and now the burden's on the state, and we work on under the assumption that it's all right, that the entrepreneur is taking care of his
Mhm,
building,
mhm.
that his product is a low risk product. Of course, we're not talking about people who are making cheese in their kitchen. right? We're talking about low risk activities. Somebody's a hairdresser, somebody is painting nails, somebody's doing um, some simple activity that were heavily regulated, and then you would need permits that would take months to come. Now we operate under the principle that it is all right, and it's on the state the burden to go and check you out. Of course, we assume that you're all right, you're following the policies, but you don't have to present the documents showing me that you are following the procedures before you even start a single product. So governments still go and check business out, but
But the relationship is flipped.
the assumption is that it's all right. So if you have a low risk activity, you can start selling, you can start operating your company, and that well reduced the time of meeting for entrepreneurs from months to a couple of hours.
You also backed transparency. That was a pretty big focus of yours. Why is transparency such an important use of your energy and resource?
Well, every time we talk about the relationship between citizens and the state, we always tell people that state power should be limited. And transparency is a great way to limit state power. You know, at least shining some light,
Sure.
you know, uh, putting some focus on what they're actually doing. Um, Even if you don't have the tools to act effectively, uh, limit their power, to actually go there and uh, be active at limiting their power, transparency is a way for you to do it passively,
Mm.
to make them afraid of whatever violations or whatever abuses they may be conducting while serving in public positions. So there was broad legislation in Brazil guaranteeing that, for example, every city, every state government, and the federal government must publish their expenses and their workers' salaries and every other compensation that workers, public servants get should be published online. But for a lot of cities, municipalities, that was not reality. The federal government does a good job about that. We've been raising people's attention about the difference between, what top civil servants make in Brazil and what the average citizen makes in Brazil. It's the difference is scary.
Wow.
We found cases of 50 times a judge makes more than a normal citizen in his state. 40 times a member of Congress make more than the average citizen of his state. And, in normal countries, it's 7 times, 8 times, 6 times, 4 times sometimes. But in Brazil, it's 40, 50, 60. And it's something that people have a feeling that exists, that happens.
Yeah.
People feel that politicians make a lot more money than ordinary citizens, than people who pay their salaries, but nobody had put a number into it. So it's something that we have been exploring, but also going to city halls, talking to mayors, talking to city councilors to make sure that they are publishing their expenses. And it's really hard to do because when you go fighting the federal government in Brazil, you get a lot of media attention. Right. I mean, the president of Brazil's Congress would not threaten you,
Yeah.
because you say you should publish your expenses. He'll say, "Of course, yeah, we'll do it someday." Maybe he won't, but he will try to save face. He will perform for the cameras.
Right.
But in small cities, that's the reality. You go there and say you should be accountable. There's a legislation saying that you should publish your expenses, and they will threaten you. They will find somebody to kick you out, literally kick you. And we have a lot of members of Livres that were threatened, that were, well, subjected to physical violence. But in the end, we are scoring good wins because we have good connections with the media. And once you get the media involved, politicians are cowards. They don't want to perform that kind of role publicly. they want to pretend at least to be operating under, well, honesty and goodwill. And we've been successful in those cases. And I think it's a good way to limit the state power, not in a classical way that we think, armies or, big dictatorships or, authoritarian policies, but small steps, city by city. Sometimes it's a small city, sometimes it's a medium city, but getting their expenses published to ordinary people, it's a good way to make them think twice before, well, using public funds for stupid things.
Let's talk about your relationship with the Atlas Network. You've been involved for quite a while in many different Atlas. In fact, you and I first met at a CEO summit that happened, and we had a great time. And we could talk about that for a little bit. But obviously, you've been plugged in with Atlas Network for quite some time. What has that meant? Why has that mattered for you?
Well, it meant everything to me. It's impossible to overestimate the importance that Atlas had in my professional development. We met a CEO summit when I was a CEO,
Yeah.
but I met Atlas Network when I was an intern. And my first Liberty Forum, I was handing out name tags. So to me is an incredible pleasure to be on panels at Liberty Forum or on the main stage defending a project that my organization conducted in Brazil. So throughout my career, there was always a helping hand or a, a structure that I knew I could count on. And it wasn't a safe bet for Atlas Network and for Atlas staff to think that these 20-year-old boys from Brazil could do something. You know, we had no experience starting, and people trusted us to, go trying. I think this is something that, I've attended a lot of trainings at Atlas, particularly after I became, well, the manager.
Sure.
And there's always this conversation about, you know, paying attention to our staff, encourage them to go looking for improvements. And there's always something like encourage them to go and try. If they fail, it's fine. And that sounds like something that Tom Palmer would tell me 20 something years ago.
Sure.
When I was 20, had no experience, and would tell us, just try.
Right.
What do you want? Do you want to translate articles and put them online in Portuguese? Just do it. Well, but we don't know if somebody will want to, read it. Don't worry, just put it on.
Right.
You want to have events? Just go. Book a room in a university, go there and debate. But we don't know if somebody would go there, will there be watching a couple
Yeah.
20-year-old boys talking about these ideas. Just go.
Right.
If there's 6 people there, it's fine. You never know who those 6 people are.
Right.
Maybe these are your future colleagues.
Right.
And yeah, today, my colleague in Livres who helps lead the organization with me was one of those 6 people.
Really?
Yeah. We traveled like,
Amazing.
we took an airplane 3 hours to go to Recife in the northeast of Brazil for an event that should have been, I don't know, 10 people in the audience. One of these guys is Manu, who works today with me, who right now he is in the morning show in Brazil's largest radio network.
Really?
That's also like a TV network. A couple of days ago, he was having a coffee at Starbucks downstairs here in New York. Somebody approached him like, "I can't believe you're here."
Really?
Yeah, this guy was like one of the 6 people in the audience when I was 20 something. I had probably nothing to tell people, but you know, that's the kind of spirit that in the encouragement that Atlas gave us. And I feel really indebted to people like Tom Palmer who thought, okay, just go and sail them. Because, it was me and my friend. And my friend now is president of the of FEE,
Mhm.
the Foundation for Economic Education, and the other friend was me. So, the two of us actually went quite far in the movement and, turned out to be a good investment. But Atlas didn't know if it was a good or bad investment, and still they trusted us. And I'm really pleased and I'm thankful that to this day, Atlas still checking me out, say, "What do you need? Do you need training for your colleagues? Yeah, send them out. Uh, whatever you need, communication, fundraising, anything, just come over. We'll help you with that." And I think my career would have been fundamentally different if it wasn't for the Atlas Network. And I think the liberty movement in Brazil would be definitely much different, much smaller, much weaker without the Atlas Network.
So yeah, the only thing I'll quarrel with you on this is you said, well, it was a crazy bet on us then, but yet here we sit, as you mentioned, in New York City at the Liberty Forum, and the Freedom Dinner will happen after this taping. But you are a Templeton Freedom Award finalist, the second time in 4 years. Some would say that was a good bet, clearly on what's happening. But talk to me about what it was like to win at the regional level. What did it mean for you and the team? And then I'd love to get your thoughts on tonight and what it would mean to win the TFA.
Well, Michael, winning meant a lot to my team. To me, winning was not a big thing because when I started back then, I just wanted our ideas to exist in the Brazilian public debate.
Mm,
I didn't want us to win debates.
mm.
I didn't want us to get lots of votes.
Right,
I just wanted to exist.
right,
When they're doing a report on something and they would show, okay, this is a left wing answer, this is a right wing answer, and this is the classical liberal answer. That was my end game.
yeah.
If I got there, that was my
In a
end game.
seat at the table.
Yeah, once we published a notepad in a small regional newspaper, and that was already my end game too. So we were having lots of end games.
Right.
Once Diogo was in a TV show in Brazil, and I thought that was our end game too.
We did it.
After the tape he was shown on TV after he aired, we went out for dinner and we were like, "Can you believe it? You're on TV! Oh my god!" And I don't know. Next week I'll be on TV 5 times.
Right.
So it's good that my end game keeps moving, but that brings me a feeling of satisfaction.
Sure.
Like it's been way better than I thought it would be. And that makes me calm in face of the TFA final because I'm happy. I started here handing out name tags. I'm standing on the main stage today. Everybody's watching me standing there.
Right.
I talked earlier today,
Sure.
on the main stage to the whole Liberty Forum.
Right.
I have won already.
Mm.
That's it. I mean, I'm done. I think it would mean a lot to my team, of course,
Sure.
because whenever I'm in front of a camera, whenever I'm in front of a microphone, I know that I'm representing their work. I'm only sitting here because they are back there answering emails, answering messages, taking care of the office, paying taxes. So I'm representing their work and everything they put into these organizations. So of course it's pleasant. Of course I would like to win, but it's been so much better than I thought it would be that I'm already happy. I'm gonna go for the freedom dinner. I'm gonna sit down beside somebody I admire, and it happens all the time. And a lot of people that I admire, that I would watch speak for a long, long time, now they know me, they call me by my name. So life has been great. And today at the TFA final, I hope somebody win and they make good use of the money. We will take a trophy at home. So if you're finalist, you take a trophy either way. And we're happy. We're happy. We're here. We're in New York. We exist. We are Brazilian public debate. Uh, Politicians know us, and respect us. The media know us and respect us.
Mm, mm.
We walked in our speed. We didn't want to be very popular. We wanted to be respected, and things worked out. We pay our bills. We pay our team salaries, and things are fine for us.
You mentioned that the winner of the Templeton Freedom Award gets a pretty significant grant and contribution to their effort. And all those finalists, including Libres, have received and will receive an award as well, some financial contribution. So I want to go to that point, right, in philanthropy and support of the work. If there is a donor in the audience tonight that has contributed to a grant that has gone through Atlas Network to help the organization or to support one of the training programs for you or your team, and you get a chance to interact with them. What are you saying to them? What do you communicate to them about the impact of their dollars?
Well, in a personal level, I would thank them for giving me a career in a field that, you know, I like and something that I think it's my call.
Yeah.
And not only to me, my team work long hours. They know they could be making more money working elsewhere. So those dollars gave them not a job because they could find a job elsewhere that would pay them a lot more, but purpose, gave them something meaningful, gave them a feeling that they're contributing to their city, their state, the country. And I think this is very powerful. And there's no money that could pay for it. And literally, because they are literally giving up money to be working with us. Uh, and it's very much impacting the country,
Yeah.
the country's politics. And we are part of it. And I was telling you, like, I won already
Yeah.
because, my end game has been reached so many times. And we started back then. We had no idea where we were going. And through the help of Atlas Network with Atlas Network supporters, we were trained, and it was not like me. We trained 2 generations.
Mm.
People who are in their 40s were trained by Atlas Network, people who are in their 30s were trained by Atlas Network, people in their 20s, and people in their teens. So from that investment that Atlas Network made back then, out of that project of 2 20-year-old boys from Brazil, we came up with a lot of new projects. Student for Libres Brazil came up out of that project, and it's one of the biggest chapters
Yes, it is.
of SFL in the world. And we are on TV every day, and there is a voice, a classical liberal voice in Brazilian society. And it's no exaggeration to say it's direct result of Atlas Network trainings, Atlas Network support, and Atlas Network providing us with an environment in which we can share experiences with people from all over the world.
Magno, we've talked about your journey and your story, and it strikes me that there's probably someone in the audience right now. It could be that 20-year-old boy that's listening right now that you refer to, or it could be a philanthropist or someone else that is wondering if they could have impact. And maybe they're thinking of their end game and their first end game, and is it even reachable? And so I wonder with that, what your advice would be for them, because you have so much excitement. I got to tell you, like sitting here listening to the conversation, I'm just thinking, man, it'd be so much fun to work with Magno. Like I get it as so much fun every day, but I wonder what you would advise them of now, or what you would tell them about their story.
Well, first, keep working on yourself. Like, keep reading. Uh, you're never too clever. You're never too informed.
That's
There is always something new for you to learn. Even whatever people on the other side have written, people on the other side have been speaking about, it's good for you to know because it will make you better at debating. Last week, I was debating about the justice system with the former Minister of Justice. Of course, I was scared, but I never felt unprepared.
That's good.
I felt exposed. Like, oh my God,
Sure.
what am I doing here? But I never felt unprepared. I was prepared.
Mm,
And we left that debate. He respected me.
mm, mm.
So work on yourself and beware of the resources that you have now that I didn't have in 2005. And particularly the peers, these environment that Atlas Network provide us with. What I have access now in the CEO Summit of these people who have been leading their big organizations for decades. And they're sitting beside me at lunch, and I have a problem that they solved in their organization 30 years ago. And I'm feeling this is the worst problem I've ever faced. And they're like, oh, yeah, I had this problem in 1985, and this is what you do.
Right.
To them, it's so trivial. And I'm like, yeah. And,
Mm,
in an
that's good.
Atlas event,
Yeah.
you get to rub shoulders with these people. You get to, drink coffee with them, have dinner with them. And this is priceless. Reading books is great. I have a lot of books at home. Moving homes for me is a nightmare because I have a lot of them. But sitting down with somebody who has
Sure.
20, 30 years experience in your field
Yeah.
is priceless. So if you're 20 and you don't know what to do with your life, but you feel like this is what you want to do, you're passionate about these ideas, go talk to people who have done it. It's really easy for us when we are young to think that these people who are 40, they are like gods. And what they did was impossible. And what they did, you couldn't possibly think of doing. But you'd be surprised that they made a lot of bad decisions too.
Yeah.
Their path was definitely not a straight path, and they manage it. And if they are now in a position that somebody can look up to, it's because they didn't give up. They thought, let's go. They had people to help them. And I'm hopefully that they will be thankful to those people. We should always be grateful. Um, but they mostly just kept going, keep marching. If there's a problem you can solve, just solve it.
Yeah.
If you can't, just keep going and wait for people to criticize you before you criticize yourselves. Just go.
All right, Magno, we've come to the point in the conversation. At the end of every podcast, we bring it home, and you're on the hot seat because now I want to talk about you. And what's interesting is we got to spend some time together earlier this year, and we did eat a little bit in your backyard. I mean, we had a night out at Copacabana, we had a dinner, and we did a couple other things. But for the audience, we need to tell them, if we were right now in Brazil, and maybe we're at your house with us or something, we're going to go eat after this. What are we eating? What's the dish that
I think I would go for a feijoada.
Oh.
Feijoada is beans, black beans, with a lot of different pieces of pork.
Yeah.
And they're cooked together, and it's kind of salty because the pieces of pork are kept in salt.
Okay.
So the beans get really salty, and then you have white rice, and you have a different side dishes. Well, it's great. It's great to have in early afternoon.
Okay.
With the cold beer because we get thirsty, right?
Yeah.
Because
Sure.
the beans are really really salty. Then you drink with cold beer, and then after you're done, it's really hot. You go back home,
And take a nap, right? Yeah. I will say that was one thing. The beer in Brazil, it was something I didn't think of going there. You have really good beer in Brazil.
Oh yeah, it's usually light beer,
Right.
so it's different from the European style beer when it's like kind of thicker, heavier beer. In Brazil, we have lighter beer. It's very hot, and we tend to share the bottle too because small glasses because it gets warm pretty quick. So that's a good tradition. Saturday afternoon, eat feijoada, uh,
Have a couple beers and
make yourself really full,
yeah.
get sleepy, go to bed, and you start the day again, I don't know, 5 p.m.
So you mentioned earlier a lot of books. You said it'd be tough to move because you have so many books. So I imagine you like to read. But when you're not working with Libres or you're not in the office or traveling or anything else, what are your hobbies? What do you like to do?
I like reading.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm kind of boring. I like
I doubt that first.
I like spending time by myself, and I can have fun with myself.
Sure.
I'm interested. I'm curious.
You're curious.
So
Okay. What a good quality of leadership. Boy.
I my hobby is getting lost in a topic. And this is something I really like doing. Be it a Wikipedia article that I start reading, and then I'm just reading one after the other. And I'm really going tunnel vision with that topic, or a YouTube video that I get interested in a topic, and then I'm watching 100 documentaries on that topic on YouTube. And that was, I started Friday, it's Monday again, and I'm still watching. I didn't go out of the house for the whole weekend because I'm hyper focused on that topic. I also play lots of musical instruments.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Way to bury the lead. Okay,
Yeah.
talk to us about your musical taste.
I like slow songs, like
Yeah.
romantic pop songs, but because I like the relaxation feeling of listening to music,
Sure.
not from a point of anger, but from a feelings point. Even though I'm not a full feelings person, I like getting in touch with that through songs.
So what instruments do you play?
I play string instruments. So I play
Okay.
guitar, the electric guitar, the bass, play keyboards. I play an instrument called cavaquinho. Cavaquinho is a small four-string guitar
Okay.
used to play samba in Brazil.
Oh,
It's
right.
the pitch is really high.
Yeah.
So I
Sure.
think
Yeah.
it's typical for samba players in Brazil.
So, a goal that I have, there's so many musicians throughout the worldwide freedom movement. In fact, a guest that was on an earlier podcast, Richard Durana with Inez in Slovakia, is a musician that's put out several albums. And his brother, who's a co-founder of the organization, is a musician with him, right? So I got to link you up with the Duranas, and you guys can play one time at an event. That would be quite a bit of fun. All right, one last question, Magno, before I let you go. It is clear from that spark with that 20-year-old when you and Diogo were starting off and you were talking with Tom Palmer till now that something has changed and it's hope. And there's this hope that is just effervescent with you when you talk. What is it that gives you hope?
Well, because I think people are really able to observe their surroundings and learn. We People may not be educated in economic policy, but people want to have better lives. And,
Mm,
you know, we will slowly learn how to get better lives. It's not a straight line. We don't often win. And we also learned how to deal with our losses and keep marching. I lived abroad from when I was 22 to I was 35. I had a good life living abroad, and I decided to go back to Brazil when, to everybody surprise, I just showed up one day and said, I'm back. I'm gonna live here. And I think what took me back to Brazil of course, my love for Brazilian food, music, and soccer.
yes.
Uh, but mostly the hope that, you know, the place where my families could be better and I could do something to help. I was saved.
Mm,
I was living in Germany comfortably.
mm.
I was saved, but it was not about me, even though I'm an individualist. But somehow it's not only about me, and I want to do something about it.
Well, you are definitely doing something. Your team is doing something, and you're being recognized tonight. Good luck to you in the Templeton Freedom Award finals. We'll be excited to see what happens there. Thank you for your time and conversation today and all your leadership.
Well, thank you for having me, and I thank the Atlas Network for everything Atlas Network has done for me in the last 20 years.
And thank you for joining us on this conversation. If you'd like to join more of the discussions that we have at Atlas Network, go to anywhere you can get your podcasts, YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and look for Atlas Network with Michael Carnuccio. And thank you for joining us on that episode, this one, and others.